Oof.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey there, let's get everyone in on the chat. Let me know how the sound is. We are trying new sound equipment, and we think it's our friends at Blue Mic, and we like Blue Mics. And if you like the sound, that's why the sound is so much better. I'm just looking at some of the data. Well, Anthony, why not? Good. Andrew says it sounds good. We're very happy with that. I'm looking at some of the data, and it's very interesting to me. It's all very, very, very interesting. My guess is, well, let's get everybody in here first. I'm anxious to see when University of Washington reposts their stuff. Excellent. Questions you guys have? I mostly want to react to what you guys are saying on the chat today, so I'm happy to take any questions. I retweeted a great TED Talk today that I would recommend most highly. Susan, is there a way we can maybe put that on the website or something?
What?
My buddy Officer Dion is in a TED Talk about homelessness that is just amazing. And he is amazing. I've known him for...
Send me the link later.
No, not now.
What do you want? Where do you want it?
Anywhere where these guys can get it. Julie, Blue Mic is great.
Look it up.
No, I was gonna. It's my retweet. It actually should be on my thread, but I'd love to post his talk somewhere because he's just so on point. You saw it too, Brian. Good. Video out of sync with sound. They're saying maybe.
Oh no.
Is that true? Has anybody else seen that? Because we've had that problem before.
That's so weird.
I did start taking quercetin with my zinc. I absolutely did, and I've recommended it to a couple of my physician peers. One of them immediately told me he was going to take quercetin, which is not quercetin. It's Quercetin. It's not Coricid, whatever, IN. Quercetin. Greg, what is yes, sadly? No, people are saying it looks good. They can't tell. So it must be at somebody else's. Somebody else's. It's at your end. Anyway, Officer Dion is a guy who's been walking the beat in the homeless population for decades, and he knows exactly what it is and exactly what to do about it. And of course, no one is listening to him. And now he's got a TED Talk out, which I just found, and I want to push it out there as much as Suzanne. That's really funny about the red, orange, and yellow coloring, which I think are sort of ridiculous. But the numbers in Orange County are really kind of jumping forward a little bit. I was just looking at that. They have on their, if you look at their, where is it? There it is. If you look at their dashboard, they're at 226 cases per 100,000, which is a marked increase for them. 12% change in 3-day average hospitalized patients, 14% positivity, but still plenty of ICU beds, that kind of thing. But the point is, Orange County is climbing all of a sudden. And here's what I'm thinking. You tell me if I'm thinking wrong on this. Did I see CNN actually said something positive for hydroxychloroquine? Damn. Yeah, well, if you watch, is that up right now with Dr. Zelenko, Susan?
Yes.
Yeah, if you watch that interview with Dr. Zelenko, I think you'll be pretty thoroughly convinced about it. And that doctors are using it like crazy and to good effect. So, Tom, you're saying cases up but deaths lower. Maybe that's the therapeutics we're doing. Some of it undoubtedly is. How much quercetin? I think I have to look it up. It just comes in a standard dose. I think it's either 100 or 500 milligrams. Whatever he recommended to me, I just took. Shant, congratulations on medical school. Congratulations. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. How much zinc? It's 50 milligrams of elemental zinc, and then quercetin. All right, you're going to make me look it up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look up what I brought from Amazon, and I'm going to tell you what I got. Where's my history? What do? I go to orders. Quercetin was 500 milligrams. So quercetin 500 milligrams, what I'm taking. And then zinc 50 milligrams. Maybe if I had COVID, I might go up to 1,000 milligrams. I might increase the zinc even too. So one of the things Dr. Zelenko was telling us is that the zinc is a key factor in killing the virus, and I agree with that. So, in some of the studies that did not look so good, they were not even using the zinc. So this is kind of interesting. All right. So here's what I'm thinking about all this data. We were talking a little bit about Orange County, LA County, for whatever reason. Orange County here in California, not Florida. LA County, for whatever reason, does not seem to be reporting its data. I'm looking at the state data around, and
Where do you find that?
where do I find the state data? At the COVID Tracking Project. Also, I sometimes go to update.covid19.ca.gov just to look at California. But the COVID Tracking Project is really pretty good for everybody. And if you look at that and sort of, they've now included some graphs in it so you can sort of visually inspect what's going on. You will see.
Do you want me to show that?
Sure.
What page?
What page? Let's say go to COVID Tracking Project, Texas. The history, and then you go to history. You go to historical data. And if you look at the graphs there on Texas, you'll see. Are you going to put it up as a full
Yeah,
screen?
I'm trying to find it though. I don't know if I'm. Is
So-
it covidtracking.com?
Go COVID Tracking Project. Just put that in. COVID Tracking Project. Good evening, Tommy. Hang on one second. That's an interesting idea. JM, True Niagen and Zinc. I take quercetin, I take True Niagen, I take zinc. That's me. Are you embarrassed about the U.S. response to COVID-19? No, Jeremy. I think no. I think we're doing okay. I think we are such a huge country and so diverse. There was almost no other way of doing it, decentralizing it. That was always what I thought we should do. I didn't feel that we should have a centralized approach. I didn't think it would work.
You can't get covidtrackingproject.com to come up.
Okay, let me
Sure, it's not something else.
maybe let me look. Hold on one second, everybody. 1 second.
Org?
It is covidtracking.com. How about that?
Oh, okay.
It's just COVID tracking. If you Google COVID Tracking Project.
That I got, but I couldn't see the Texas.
Okay, so you see our data on the upper middle left.
Computer's
Our
being slow.
okay,
Hold
our data.
on. Hold on. Just let me Google it.
Okay, so what I was going to say, coronavirus deaths in the country have nearly reached a level where the virus will cease to qualify as an epidemic. Okay, Raylene, this is an interesting piece of data that someone pointed out to me last night. I don't know quite what they mean by that. So Raylene is saying, I'm going to read her comment here in the chat. The country has nearly reached a level where the virus will cease to qualify as an epidemic under Centers for Disease Control and Prevention rules. The federal agency reported this on Friday. I don't know what to make of that because I did not know that epidemics were strictly speaking defined by death rate. My understanding, epidemics is defined by diffuseness, right? We could have an epidemic of the cold, right? So I am, and pandemic just means it's everywhere. It doesn't mean deadly. It doesn't mean anything. It just means it's everywhere. And epidemic, same thing. So I'm a little confused by that. I'd love to hear more if somebody has anything about that.
So do you want Texas?
Do you see the graphs? If you look at the history, okay, historical data, you see that? And then if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see a graph, right? Yes? Okay, that graph, put it up. And then let me look at it when you put it up. I guess I can go
you
to,
want me to look? I can
yeah.
go to this.
So, that's not, I wanted all three of them to show up.
All three of them?
There's three graphs there. It's OC.
Oh, I see.
Well, that's okay. Go, all right, so let's scroll through it. It's okay. Let me deal with it. So here we are.
Hold on, I have to transition it. Hold on. Wink.
Okay, it's on the graph now. So this is Texas. This is just it won't maybe this way. It won't scroll now.
Click on it.
Okay, thank you. This is the incidence here. You see how we're getting into trouble in Texas,
Picture
right?
and
Now
you
Texas,
put the picture in.
I understand. Texas is a very big state, right? And so they're at about 8,000 per day. And this is the hospitalization rate, right? So they got an issue. They got to pay attention to this. But here's the really interesting data. The death rate. Now, this is why I put Texas and Florida up, because their death rates are kind of going up. Everybody else's is going down. Let's at least say it's trending up. Now do Florida, the same thing. And you'll see, I mean, they have a significant, I hate using the word surge and things like that, because surge is a specific description of what happens to a hospital when people surge in through the doors. I just want to. Hang on, we're getting Florida up there. I'm also looking at your stuff. Is camping safe as far as I know? Is the spike because of the protest? So the spike is obviously not exclusively because of protest. Okay, here.
Historical data, right?
Yeah, and then go to the graph at the top, up. The graphs, there they are. So let me show you Florida again very quickly. So is that the testing? Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, so that's testing, which they're doing a lot more of.
So you want to get it centered.
Yeah, I get
You're
it.
scrolling.
I get you. And this is again Florida, a lot like Texas, doesn't it? And they don't have the hospitalization rate. But I wanted to show you that again, the death rate's kind of trending up. And those are the only two states where the trend in death rate. No, it isn't. It isn't any less. But the point is, everyone else is going down. So why is the death rate going down? Is the big conundrum right now. And it could be several things. One could be my profession is doing a better job of treating it, which is a truth. It could be that it's primarily now affecting young people, which is also a fact. It could be that the virus has changed seasonally or at least mutated some way. Well, we're seeing the change in that it's more infectious, but we're not seeing it. Yes, it has mutated to spread faster, as Laura's saying, we think. But it has not necessarily mutated to be less aggressive or less problematic. Or perhaps we're just protecting older people better and they're staying away from everybody else. Whatever it is, young people are getting it. We're doing a better job of treating it. And a lot less people are dying. It's trending down. So the question is, where are all these young people getting it? Well, no doubt because we're moving about, right? The question is, the question asked on the chat was, did the demonstrations, are they responsible in some way? Let's flip it around and say, what if putting 50,000 people on the street did not result in an uptick? Personally, that would mean to me that the lockdown was a total sham and a ridiculous waste of time. Well, the good news is 50,000 people in the streets probably did cause a little uptick. I mean, how could it not, right? The interesting exception to that is New York City, right? And so I looked into that a little bit, and sometimes the exception proves the rule. I talked to some people that were at those protests, and they said no one, New Yorkers are freaked out about COVID. No one did not wear a mask at the New York demonstrations, and people tried to keep their distance. New Yorkers were freaked out by the COVID, even though they participated in the demonstrations and managed to do it in a way that maybe didn't cause a transmission, which is really interesting. So who was at the, Dennis Rodman? That's very funny. He wanted to get him on the case. I thought he was going to tell me something had happened. So young people, of course, are the ones that went to the demonstrations. Young people are the ones that are moving about. So that initiated, and I think what I'm seeing is that as a result of sort of the demonstrations kind of sort of injecting a little life into the transmission, it kind of moved the transmission rate up to a higher level. I'm seeing this in Los Angeles for sure, where we were kind of going along like this, and then after Memorial Day, we kind of went up, and now we're going up here. I think that may just be the new normal as we move about. And it's going to primarily, it looks like, at least at this point, it's going to primarily remain amongst young people. It may not. That's the problem. So we'll see. We will see. I don't think it's going to truly cause another explosion like New York City. I don't think it's going to cause another second wave per se. I think what it's doing is just taking what we had and just putting it at a higher rate. And really all that means really is we're going to get to herd immunity quicker, I suppose. It also could mean that more people get hurt. That's the problem. Now, if we... Kelly Jean says young people seem to be in denial of wearing masks. Yeah, a lot of people are in denial, and mask wearing needs to be done universally for it to work. And so it's really a squandered opportunity. If we don't use masks, and I think that's sad. So here is this COVID-19 losing its epidemic status according to the CDC. CDC qualifies a disease outbreak as epidemic if the number of deaths attributable to the disease exceeds a certain percentage of total deaths per week. That seems like a weird definition of epidemic.
I'm going to show the restream so people can see.
The restream of people's questions?
I
Okay.
can see what you're doing.
Okay. Why were people asking about that?
No, but look how many-
Latest data show, I know it's difficult to keep up with you guys. Latest data show that the percentage of deaths in the country attributable to those factors had, as of the last week in June, reached its lowest point since the end of last year, becoming equal to the epidemic threshold of 5.9%. Yeah? Okay. You know, what's interesting is at this point, it would probably be less than the H1N1 epidemic, which is what I was trying to get people to understand, is that you've been through other pandemics and you didn't even know it happened, and for some weird reason we became extremely aggressive about this one. Impatient says, I'm a geneticist. I spent time working on HIV. My concern is that the virus is engineered. There's evidence that convincingly argues for this. I've seen that evidence. There's that there's that piece, that little snip that makes it highly more contagious, that doesn't typically occur never occurs in nature, and is typically used for engineered viruses. I saw that. Steve from Atlanta is agreeing. Okay, Andrew, give me the next great interview. Your last one was excellent, so I appreciate your advice. Please email me. On the packages we buy, they say cannot guarantee masks work. Listen, that is attorneys. If you guarantee a mask works and it doesn't, you're going to get sued. So of course they say there's no guarantee. In fact, it doesn't. I've got something else, Susan, to show you. Do you see this? This is an interesting. I would like to get this video. Is there a way I can say? I'm going to send you that video. Okay. Well, I'll show it to you. Look, it's about how it's
What's the website?
It is NBC 12 bandana. Maybe if you get that. It's an interesting video for the stream.
Is this it?
Yes, there it is. If you can show that video, it'd be great.
I don't know if I can play the video. I don't. Think
Okay, you can take screenshots of it as it.
I think if I play it, I don't think it'll. Let's see.
The trash dash. Yes, condoms are also not guaranteed to work.
It plays. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Are you playing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we playing it on the stream?
Yeah, but I don't know. There's no sound.
Okay, that's okay. So if there's what a cough does for you, right? And now here's a mask, right? This is a double stitch mask. Boom, right? I mean, that significantly changes things. What I want you to see,
Pokes out
though,
of your eyeballs.
well, it just doesn't go straight out like that. It doesn't go 6 feet away like it does, which is why we want 6 feet distance. It stays around you. Now, that's a bandana, guys. There is a bandana. The bandanas, wait, hold
I'm
on.
going to turn off the audio on my computer because people are texting me. See if you can still hear them.
Can you hear me okay? Everybody hear me? Test 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to everybody hear me okay? I'm looking. Can we go back and show the
Yeah, sure.
I want to show the bandana again so they make sure they get that. So they understand that a cloth bandana is not as good as a mask. What are we doing here? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
So go forward a little bit.
Let's play it again.
All right.
Oh, no, wait a minute. 3.
Sorry, ads up there.
Well,
Skip ad.
get a summary trend.
Okay, so there's a cough without anything, right? 6 feet. We all know about the 6 feet now. Thank you for telling me you can hear me. And now bandana. See, I want you to see that. Bandana makes it about 3 feet.
Wow.
So, yeah. So there's a face mask. That's what stuff we're recommending. Look at that. Okay.
What about
Boom.
the plastic one?
It's
I hope they show it.
a plastic one.
Ooh, it's coming out of the side.
It's okay. It just doesn't go 6 feet like that.
So nice.
But get the bandana again.
It's coming.
Wait, here's
It's
the
coming.
bandana. See, bandana is back. So if you're near somebody with a bandana, you still need to be at least 3 feet away, right? Or your face mask could protect you. Or 2 people with bandanas. Yeah, red McFly. Bandana plus mask equals good, right? All right, we can get rid of that now. The Miss Mindy show. Well, we'll see in UK whether they get a transmission rate. They should, right? What happens when you cover your mouth? Good question. I imagine you'd have to cover it like this. It's interesting. So if you're not having if you are not wearing a mask or you don't have access to something, cover your mouth. Two bandanas would be better, right? Okay, if you are healthy, can a mask cut your O2 down to dangerous levels, way below OSHA mandatory levels of 9.5 working conditions? I don't see how. I don't see how at all. I run with a mask on. CO2 is easy for us to get in. The problem is getting CO2 out. And if we are a CO2 retainer, we can get into trouble, but those are unusual. Very unusual to be a CO2 retainer. I went running today. I ran for 3 miles with a mask. No oxygen problems. Can I explain the difference with the new mutation? The main thing, Laura, that Dr. Fauci spoke about is that it seems to be more infectious, a little more easily transmitted. That was coughing, not breathing. That is correct. Why don't I ever take a day off, Mike? Yesterday. Took yesterday off pretty much. Okay. At the beginning of COVID-19, we stated that touching was dangerous, that a person can get it from touching. We did, absolutely, because that's usually how most viruses are transmitted. And there is some potential for transmission that way, but it's clearly not the main means of transmission. The main means is nose to nose. And it's about proximity and duration of that proximity. That's it. That's the whole deal now. Be World Day was good yesterday. Susan, how was our day yesterday?
Great.
The virus does go through the mask, but the droplets that the virus travels on doesn't go through the mask, right? So the virus has to hitch a ride. It's tinier than the mask, mesh, but it captures the droplets that carry the virus. So stop thinking in terms of, oh my God, they don't work because the virus gets through. That's not the issue. And by the way, the 1918 influenza epidemic, if you look at some of the literature and the doctor conversations that were going on then, they really felt that they completely stopped the epidemic with the use of masks. But they never believed they could get the general public to wear them. That was their biggest concern. Like, how are we going to get people to do this? Well, we have the same problem today. Why November 4th, Jen? I'm wondering if I have an allergy that's related to asthma, being at high risk, 59. If you have any questions, you should get COVID testing. Justin, I guess Brandon Sham got COVID-19. How's he doing? Is he okay? Impatience, you are simply wrong. You are simply wrong. Remdesivir works for sick patients, works very well. For the relatively well individuals with active disease, your hydroxychloroquine and zinc is absolutely what they should be using. And I've not seen Fauci come out against that. He just said he's waiting for the data to come in. He always waits for data. And of course, the ACORN is talking about the viral load, of course, is an important feature of this too. And the question is, when do people start creating virus? And that's one of the nefarious parts of this virus. You hear a lot of talk about asymptomatic individuals. They are probably not as important as pre-symptomatic individuals. So for probably 3 days before you get symptoms, your body is starting to produce this virus, and you can have a large viral load before you even feel bad. That's where it gets out of hand. So it's around, it's prominent, it's with us, and hopefully it will continue to not cause serious damage. You'll see a lot of literature, you'll see a lot of commentary out there in the world about post-viral syndromes, right? So people are impatient. The decrease in time of hospitalization is a major deal. When I was working on HIV and AIDS, when we had AZT, which would prolong life by a couple of months, that started a revolution that brought us to where we are today, where we were able to make AIDS a chronic illness. So viral load is increases in the first couple of days before you get symptoms, and that's where it gets out of hand. They're actually advocating that vitamin D should stop when you get sick from the COVID. Daryl says COVID is like a really nasty super cold. It's more like a nasty super flu. It can be just like a cold, though. Let's see. Okay, I lost my train of thought, so let me go back to what you guys are talking about. Rain, what should be in pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP?
Also, I want to remind everybody to see the recent show.
Yeah, with Dr. Zelenko. So,
It's really good.
yeah, where we really talk about hydroxychloroquine and zinc.
Go to drdrew.com.
And let's remind ourselves about the remdesivir. Also, the company that go to drdrew.com to see the interview I did with Dr. Zelenko. Let's remind ourselves that the company that makes remdesivir gave away 1.5 million doses for free. 1.5 million doses for free. So when it was when it was available, it worked. You're writing a lot of stuff there, so it's hard for me to keep up with it. Oh boy. 88-year-old dad with dementia had a heart attack. They took him off his pain meds. He's been on for 25 years. They should have just left him on his meds. That's a big mistake, especially after a heart attack. Kimberly, I said vitamin D, stop. There's some evidence you should stop it if you get sick. Not before you get sick, but if you get sick. Do you think more doctors using hydroxychloroquine for patients than publicly admit? Absolutely. Doctors are using it routinely. I see it every day. They're using it prophylactically, too, for themselves and for nurses. So they're just not able to say anything about it because every time we say anything, people make a political issue out of it, which is insane. Think about that. We're trying to practice medicine, and if we talk about our practice of medicine, people turn it into a political issue. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Should my mom go get colonoscopy? You might. She's 80, and it's kind of hard. I mean, you might want to see what's going on at the colonoscopy center, whether they can really protect her. I work with two people, had the virus. One is in his late 60s, the other in the 30s. Both were up and better in less than a week. That is a common story. You got to remember the fatality rate from this thing is less than 1%. So people getting really sick is a small percentage of the total. It's just so many people are getting this thing. It's a large number when you add it all up. I went to the gym, Danielle. I went to the gym yesterday. I wore a mask the whole time, though.
It does sound good, but your lips are a little out of sync.
Uh-oh.
I don't know why. It's weird. Maybe because of the mic.
I don't know.
It's funny. There's always something.
What do I think about MDMA therapy for PTSD? Clearly, there is benefit to hallucinogen therapy with MDMA and mushrooms also. I would go to a research center if you're going to do it. People are doing it on a research basis. I know UCLA has a big program for that. But clearly, hallucinogenics are going to have therapeutic value in some significant psychiatric illnesses, PTSD being one of them. What do you eat in a carb-free diet? No carbohydrates, Randy. That's about. Otherwise, it's everything else is on. Let's see. Yes, less than 1%. Everything is synced up for them on YouTube. YouTube is looking good.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right. You guys are running out of topics here. So I want to go back to what... give me a second here. I want to go back to what Officer Dion is talking about. If you go watch his TEDx lecture, were we able to get that up at all?
Okay, what do you want? Officer Dion is
After Dion TEDx, or Dion Joseph, I think his last name is. Let me see. It's on my Twitter feed too, and if you could just give a link to that. Does blood type have an impact on the severity of COVID? Yes, it does, it turns out. There was a good article in the New England Journal showed that there are 6 genes associated with problematic outcomes, and it is associated with less risk of complication with blood type O, less risk of infection, more likely to get infected, more likely to get complications with type A. No, that's not him.
TED Talk. That's an app.
Okay, let's see if this is him. Yeah, let's see if he comes up. Are you showing this to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope it's the right TED Talk.
Dion Joseph, TEDx Grand Park.
Yep, I believe that's it. So they're not going to be able to hear this, though, right? Yeah, there's Dion. So I want you guys to go watch this pod when we're over here today, or this TED Talk, because Dion has been working in the homeless with the homeless for decades, And he tells you exactly what is true. He tells you exactly, why would he tell you anything different than what he's been observing for 20 years? And he tells you exactly how it works, exactly what we need to do, and he is 100% right. And we are doing none of it, especially in Los Angeles and San Francisco. It is insane that we are attempting to cure or manage a problem that is so clear to anyone that works with these folks, with some unrelated dressings that are not going to help. Just because they're called homeless doesn't mean finding a home is the solution to the problem. It is not. It is a feature of what's needed, but there is so much more. If you saw the interview I did with Peter Kwong last week, he is someone that has a hotel where they're putting homeless into his hotel. And he talked about how lovely they were and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what kind of services are they getting? Oh, well, a nurse comes every day. A nurse comes every day. If you lost your job and became homeless, would you need to see a nurse every day? Oh, that's a psychiatric nurse. We're running a residential psychiatric program, which is exactly what they need. Exactly. And that's exactly what they get. But let's not call it anything different. This is an psychiatric issue with psychiatric needs that even when you put them in a facility at home, a residential environment, they need daily psychiatric nursing care. Daily. That's just shy of needing psychiatric hospitalization. So let's get with this and talk about what this really is. And Dr. Dion talks about aspects of it. He also talks about, Officer Dion talks about the substance piece over on top of it, which makes it so much difficult. Yeah, Tommy, so you're talking about people in their 90s that need institutional care or daily care of some type. Yep, that's what happens to all of us. If we live long enough, we will eventually need care, much like children need care. And if we go down neurologically or debilitate physically enough, you will need institutional care, which is called a nursing home. And typically that means that you need at least 2 or more people on you all the time. And some people just need that. Personally, I would urge people to really think about whether they ever want to be in a nursing home or not, and make those wishes explicit to your family if indeed you feel like I do, that I would never want to be in a nursing home, ever. Let's see. Any vitamin to help with alcohol withdrawal symptoms? Well, if you're needing treatment, there's a Librium and those kinds of drugs and Cirax that are treated for alcohol withdrawal. In terms of vitamins, magnesium and B vitamins are important, especially thiamine. Kimberly, no nursing homes for me. Die on my farm? Good, Flora May. Good for you. Yeah, Roy, 70,000 homeless in Los Angeles. Well, that's interesting. So how big of a building would that be? It would have to be some sort of diffuse sort of services, right? Hotels and I'm even in favor of let's get an encampment going somewhere, but it's going to have residential psychiatric services. Now amongst the 70,000, not all of them are mentally ill. There's a group that you'll see on the streets with the skateboards that are either just antisocial or with drug addiction, and they're straight up drug addicts only. And there are the small group of people that indeed just did lose a job and a home and a situation to live. Those people spend on average 3 months on the street, 3 months, and they find a way off. All right, Susan, I think we've been going for a while here.
34 minutes.
34?
Okay.
I'm kind of running out of steam. Laura worked as a nursing assistant in a long-term care facility for dementia. It burns you out. It sure does. How is Colorado doing? Hang on, I'll look it up in just a second. How do I feel about getting off opioids via Suboxone? This is from the Vapist. Very common. It's a way to get off as an outpatient. I don't believe people should be left on the Suboxone unless there's a really compelling reason for it. I have no problem with Suboxone as a detox medication, but the strange thing to me is I did opiate detoxes for 20 years, and I never once uttered the following phrase: I can't get my patients off opiates. What am I going to do? I had no trouble getting people off opiates. I didn't need another medication to do it. We had no problems. Why we suddenly are focused on, having it a perfectly comfortable detox, okay. I mean, it's better. It's safer. And you can do it as an outpatient. That's so fine. Powerful, 70,000 at $100 a day would cost about $2.5 billion a year. We have billions and billions and billions of dollars set aside in California for the homeless. It is not lack of money. It is not lack of funds. So when you hear people are setting up funds for homeless, that is not our problem. The problem is the law, where you can't help folks who need help, and the focus of the government in terms of addressing it. That's the problem. There's tons of money available to treat homeless. Tons. That's how you know they're completely off base and how they're doing this. They don't address what keeps people on the streets. It's incredible. What's the average age of death from COVID? I don't know that. Well, I know there's data out there that shows if you're over 75, you have like an 80%. It's 80% of the cases, but I don't know beyond that. What are the medical uses I've seen for cannabis? There's certainly plenty of stuff for CBD, but the uses for cannabis seem to be shrinking, frankly, because people are sort of doing that all on their own. And it's not kind of bearing the fruit you would think it might, given the fact that people are so enthusiastic about it. Is COVID affecting the mentally ill? Yes. Well, no. They're not. It's not affecting their neurological status any more than the rest of us. So I didn't finish my point about the post-viral syndrome. If you look at the data following the 1918 epidemic, there were psychoses, neurasthenia, depressions. There were severe psychiatric consequences of the 1918 flu. Anytime you have serious viruses, of course it affects the brain. Of course it does. And one of the things that can happen is you can get sort of a chronic fatigue type syndrome from it, or things like that, or other neurological syndromes that are sort of vague and difficult to, sort of nail down and really difficult to treat. And so, yes, there's a growing pool of people who are still not feeling well 3 months later. Of course we have that. Of course. That's not something specific to COVID. That's something specific to viruses. Check GS, not for everybody. Cannabis is a nausea medication, but it does not work for everybody. And by the way, it's definitely not the best medication out there. Zofran is the best medication. Otherwise, we would not have to use Zofran, which we have to do because nothing else controls nausea oftentimes. Okay. Why do I think the virus was meddled with? Yes, there's a feature of the virus that is specifically used for making viruses more infectious when people are doing engineering. And whether that happens spontaneously out in in nature, we don't know. Okay, guys. I don't think there's much else really to talk about today. I hope people had a good 4th of July. I think everyone kind of rode it through. I know to me, it seemed like it was a very depressing 4th of July. Everyone was kind of depressed.
We were alone in a restaurant.
Yeah, we were alone in a restaurant, and I happily go into restaurants, and I try to support their businesses because I think they're getting just unnecessarily singled out. And it just felt like people were kind of depressed yesterday. The kids wanted to have fireworks; they couldn't see them, and I'm very concerned about diseases of despair. I think we are going to see a way dramatic increase in depression, anxiety, PTSD. Substance. There's some data that came out last week on Friday that showed that overdoses are way up, both meth and opiate. Of course they are. So I just think we've got to pay attention to this, and the government continuing to screw with our lives the way they do really has significant adverse impact, and they need to be held accountable for that. We have competing priorities, right? Controlling the virus, okay. Wear masks, social distance, and not ruining people's lives, forcing people into poverty, causing addiction, causing severe depressions and suicide. I mean, it is serious. Utah has lost more to suicide than COVID's WWM is telling us. I'm not surprised by that. And let's be fair, it's government overreach. Let's see what it is. I understand it's an emergency in their views, but they clearly have been prone to excess, and that excess needs to be tempered. And hopefully going forward, we can sort of get the balance right. Quinine, no, Karen. Quinine is a no bueno. Yes, international quarantine is a pain in the ass. I agree with that. Why isn't Narcan free for prescription opioid users? Michael, it might be through Medi-Cal. It's not free for anybody, right? I mean, it's an expensive medication. It's like $50 a dose. So I don't know how to answer that. In other words, why don't we have somebody paying for Narcan for people who are opiate addicted? I think there is certain states may have things like that, actually. Yes, Kanye is running for president. What do you guys think? Malpractice from the press doesn't help. Trust in experts probably at an all-time low. Well, Nyandra, maybe you're just learning how to use experts, particularly experts that model. When they build models like climate or epidemics or markets, they are general ideas about the way things are going. You cannot rely on them as predictions. They are not. No one can predict the future. Experts do not predict the future. And by the same token, experts should not be making decisions unless it's a situation where it's specifically on them, like a clinician. But they should be advising the decision makers and helping them weigh out the risks and benefits of what they're doing, instead of telling them what to do. Telling them what to do is not their job. We didn't elect experts. We elect the decision makers to listen to experts, and they could cave to them completely if they want. But that is the way experts should be used. They should be taken as advisory. And I hope everyone learned that from this epidemic. Even, I behave as though the University of Washington data is predictive, right? I run to it when it comes out. I can't wait for it to come out. I told Dr. Murray, who's the head of this organization, I said, I behave as though you're predicting the future, because it's the closest thing I have to a guide for what to expect, or really more where we are, where we're going kind of thing. And for sure, models can tell you where we are, right? Where we are. People are trying to get me to run for president here. That will not happen. Kanye is running for president. I don't know what you guys think about that. I think it's sort of brilliant. New study shows promising results on therapeutics. Very interested to see what they'll promote. Yeah, Andrew, I'm with you on that. That'll be very interesting. Well, they shouldn't be promoting anything. They should be reporting the science. Nobody should be promoting therapeutics. They should be reporting the science. Yeah, people are trying to get me to run for mayor of Los Angeles, and the one thing I thought to myself, people last year tried to get me to run for Adam Schiff's office. That turned out to be kind of a shit show. I did think about, I am very upset about the homeless situation in Los Angeles. That population that is on the street is a population I treated for 20 years, 30 years. And I can't stand to see them languishing and dying on the streets. So maybe running for mayor is the only way I can actually change it. And thankfully, I am a independent voter. I'm not belonging to any party. Although I've been a Democrat most of the time. Now I just feel like neither party has anything to say that I can, get onto. Susan, you want Susan to be the first lady. So what do you think?
I'm apolitical.
She wants to, when I talk about running for office, she goes apoplectic. She says no.
I know.
Have I met Dr. Fauci? I worked with Dr. Fauci during the AIDS epidemics, very briefly, very, very, very briefly. But he was still my North Star then as well, and I used him educationally.
Susan, look up OnlyFans. What's that?
What? Do you know what that means? Here you go again. Be careful what you say.
Oh yeah, OnlyFans.
No, there will be no OnlyFans site. There will be no OnlyFans site. We are trying to teach Mrs. Pinsky about OnlyFans and what is that horrible website that you put up there the other day?
I know. That was a joke.
Not even as a joke. With what's his name? Come on, help me. What's a world? What is
Rocket.
that? No. What is that crazy guy?
Let me see.
North Star's a white dwarf now. That's very funny. Yeah, there's demand now for your OnlyFans site. Surprising. Infowars, thank you, the trash dash. That Susan put up Infowars when I was asking for some information. She put up the Infowars website as though I would talk about that or was endorsing that in some way.
Jones.
Alex Jones is his name. That's right.
Latest band videos.
No, not World Star Hip Hop. No, that actually I find interesting. All right, so. Well, thank you, the vapist. Go longer? Okay, I'll go a little longer if you really want.
Here it is.
The what are you putting? You're putting Infowars? Do not put that up there.
Okay.
Do not put that up. I don't even want to be a No. I mean,
I'm looking at it though.
God bless everyone's free speech privilege.
Something about Kanye.
Thank you, Suzanne. I like working with Alex Michelson. I think we have a good rapport going now. I did cover Florida. Florida is clearly at a higher rate now generally. Oh, I'm going to sneeze.
Okay, that just went 6 feet.
I was saying that what I think has happened generally in the states that are having a little bit of an outbreak is that we've sort of injected a bunch of virus by congregating in the streets and whatnot and also moving about. And it's sort of, we're moving along and then it comes up, and I think we're going to just stay up here. It's challenging some of the hospitals and some of the systems in local epidemiologies, but it's not changing the death rate much, except in Texas and Florida, where it's the only place I could find where it wasn't going down. It was sort of neutral.
I hope you don't have COVID.
I don't think I have. I don't think I have COVID. I will wash my hands, Matt. Don't you worry. How is Oregon, Susan? Let me go to Oregon. Okay, you guys are just... you can look it up yourself. It's COVID tracking project, you guys. So let's look at Oregon. They're having lots of demonstrations in Oregon, which makes it probably difficult to keep the virus under control. Let's see what's going on in Oregon.
You're faster than I am. You should do it.
I'm doing it here. I don't necessarily want to put it up. Let's just see what it says. Cases went up by 400. Hospitalization has not changed. You had a little spike in Oregon about a week or so ago. Hospitalization rate is generally trending up. Death rate is generally trending down. And new cases is trending up. So maybe it's gone from essentially 200 to 300 cases a day. So maybe 300 a day will be sort of your new normal.
They have a racial data chart.
Yes, we have that too at the COVID site. I was telling one of the California representatives that I think African Americans have done unusually well, particularly in Southern California, and I'm wondering what we're doing. What they should really examine that and go, why was it so bad for African Americans in New York, and why is it disproportionately better in California, particularly Southern California? So she denied that it was true, but you could look at that data and see what you think. And maybe I was reading the wrong data. Perhaps I got it wrong. If you look at the general data in the United States, let's bring the general data up. This is the very top of the page. If you go to, is that for the country? National overview. Yeah, let's put that one up. So here we go. There is the national overview. That's testing.
And Drew's too fast, so I'm gonna do it.
Okay, and that's the test. That's the positivity rate. So you can see we've gone from, trending down towards 20,000 up to above 40,000 per day, and it looks like it's sort of been about to plateau there. And if you go to the hospitalization, we were doing really, really well. And then guess what? We have more cases, you have more hospitalizations. But go up a little further. Look at the death rate. Now, there was that little spike there where it looks like some sort of weird data anomaly. But it's generally trending down, which is really sort of extraordinary. So people that are going to the hospital aren't dying. The ventilators are being adequately preserved. And it's just a really interesting... Tom Cigars, why do you keep saying that about the Benadryl? It's just simply false. So stop doing that. And 12 Benadryl tablets will send somebody into anticholinergic delirium. So I'd like you...
Really fast, 3 times.
Anticholinergic delirium is a very... Michael J. Bodner. What do you know about DAG? I've been trying to make touch base with him, and he won't have anything to do with us, which makes me very, very sad. And I don't know what happened, and I'd be happy to make amends if there's something that I could possibly do. He and I spent time in New York together. I know he's very friendly with Adam. I know he doesn't disagree. He disagrees with Adam's politics, and that seems to have ruptured them. Adam is not willing to fight his way back into a relationship with DAG, but I would happily do so. So, Michael, if you know something, can tell me. I would happily listen. There we go. I think I'm back on. Kimberly made Kimberly sad too. I don't understand why he's upset either, and I would wish he would tell me to my face, because I would happily take his criticism, whatever it is. And I miss him, and so that's why I'm sort of trying to fight back. But Benjamin, is that your name? Yeah. Wait a minute. Whoever that was. If you take 12 Benadryls and smoke marijuana, oh no, stop! Come on, man.
You fell for it.
Yeah, I fell for it. I started reading it.
Powerful.
Where did that guy go that was telling me? Oh, Michael, his name is Michael. So yeah, Michael, if you can tell me what's going on there, I would happily. My recollection is mi salsa is that I brought Dr. Fauci down for lectures for my residents, and we were very engaged with his group during the HIV epidemic and following them and listening to them, and but I did not work for him or under him or anything like that. No. We were engaged with that group in terms of helping guide us, and both the University of San Francisco and the CDC were very helpful in helping those of us that were on the front lines at the time. Were I while you were kind of a Fox News stooge? Okay, so Giano's shoes or Giano shoes. I went on Fox News because that was the only news outlet that would let me speak, and I wanted to speak about homelessness. I would happily have gone on CNN, would have happily gone on MSNBC. They would not allow me on because they didn't want to hear about homelessness. They wanted to hear about anti-Trump. I wanted to talk about homelessness. And because I was on there regularly talking about homelessness, which is what I'll go anywhere and talk about that because we got to take care of this problem. That was the outlet. I like Greg Gutfeld. I like him personally. I like his show. So that show I would go on because I like it. But the rest of it I went on because they allowed me to speak about the homeless issue. So if that makes me a Fox News stooge, I would happily be a CNN stooge as well. I mean, remember, I was on CNN for 6 years. And I'm not saying anything different than I said when I was on CNN before. So I don't know quite what you're thinking. I would love to know how that works. When I went on Tucker Carlson, I talked about homelessness. That's what I talked, and I tried to educate him about the nature of the problem. And it was stuff he didn't know. But please tell me, when will I be on YMH next week? Next week, so I'll be, next week. Look out for that. You should, Vapist, nice try to shame a doctor for going on Fox. I understand people have strong feelings about, people on both sides have strong feelings about these news outlets, and I understand you go on either of them, you get called names by the other side. That's why I'm independent. I will go. I understand both sides. I will see both sides. Roy, that is not how it works. That is not how it works.
What?
He says, let's snort our rent money. Oops, we're homeless. It's not really like that. But any news on Patreon, Susan?
Patreon, we're working on it. So somebody wants to know about pooping nuts out.
Pooping nuts out?
Uh-huh.
Like what if you see nuts in your poop?
No, it's this.
Oh, pooping nuts out on YMH. Oh, no.
Shitting out.
Oh, you're going to show her talking about it?
Yeah.
Not the actual video.
Yeah.
Okay, this is her talking.
Let me tell you,
Christine
shitting
P.
out
talking
balls has been one of those videos that has changed my life. There's
Yours or your husband's?
No, I mean
You.
me. Listen, a lot of people don't give me credit.
Oh, you
tell
found
what.
it?
I didn't find it. I endorsed it, and I was awed, and I love this stuff more than Tom sometimes. And I don't get the credit I deserve for being a sick fuck. I'm here to say me too. I like it.
There you go.
So I hope those of you that are asking about the Benadryl are happy with that.
So she talked about how she wants to get credit for being as sick as Tom.
Right, more sick than Tom. So Tom's going to be on that podcast coming up in about a week also, and I'm going to be on their podcast, I believe, the same week.
And I was on where your mom's at.
Yeah, Jennifer, that's not good. The blood, not good. especially clots, because that means you're losing a lot of iron, a lot of blood. Any good news on vaccines? No specific good news. Christine is a national treasure, Patrick says. What is my opinion on lobbying in D.C. and the influence of big corporation on policy? I'm disgusted by it. And I thought that, what was the guy's name about 2 years ago? He got in trouble for, one of Trump's guys got in trouble for lobbying. Somebody help me on the thread here. Famous case, he was wearing ostrich skin coats and stuff, and it was disgusting. In any event, I thought when that guy went down, I thought that would be sort of the Epstein of the lobbying, and it just kept going. So I'm shocked that the state, we need laws to change this.
So I'm just telling everybody, I was on your mom's house.
Susan was on your mom's house. Well, you weren't on.
Drew.
You weren't on your mom's house. You were on
Where your mom's at.
where my mom's at.
Look how cute we are.
A long time ago.
That was like, what, 10 years ago?
Oh, no.
15 years ago?
No. I think it's longer than that.
Oh.
Manafort, thank you. No one, nowhere. Manafort, who I was talking about. Yeah, Bob Stevens. I know it's because they're locked in with the lobbyists that we can't get rid of them. So I don't understand why somebody can't come in and unravel some of that. Okay. Grandparents, 80, COPD, type 2 diabetes. They're getting groceries, restaurant, wear masks. Technically, Carla, your grandparents should be staying home. The masks are for people in not high risk category, and the both of them are in high risk categories. So, but listen, man, if people want to take risks with their lives, that's my point. If I were Carla, if I were your grandparents, I would be behaving just like them, and I would say, I'm 80, I'm going to die of something. This could be it, and let's see what happens. I would rather than my time being taken away from me. Look, at 80, you maybe have 3-5 years left, particularly if you're a male. And if somebody takes 6 months away from you, that is almost a third of your life potentially, as opposed to going out and living and taking a little risk. So come on now, let the 80-year-olds, do their thing, make sure they wear masks and all that kind of stuff. But to demand them to quarantine, if they don't want that part of their life taken away, don't take it away from them.
It's like telling somebody who smoked their whole life at 85 to stop smoking.
My dad is 71, won't wear a mask. I think not wearing a mask is silly. I think that's kind of silly. Should Robert Champagne stop inviting strange men to his apartment during COVID? Brian, RPC should stop inviting strange men to his home, period. Period. I'm going to talk to Tom. I got to remind myself to talk to Tom tomorrow about maybe releasing the tour of his house that I did, which we still have not released yet. Randy, boom, this is the answer. Oh, is this Frederick Douglass's day? Why is that? Hector, tell me why. I am enamored with Frederick Douglass and his rhetoric and his life. That is a piece of history that people should know the way they know George Washington, humbly.
I will not show the vape juice video.
Okay. I did research quercetin, and I'm taking it, and so is Susan taking it. Arizona, and Arizona is in trouble, right? I mean, Arizona had a really significant uptick, and people are now wearing masks, my understanding is. Scott Adams says wearing masks is patriotic because you're protecting other Americans. I found a quote that I said the other day that I was quoting Teddy Roosevelt, where he said nationalism, and you could put being patriotic in the same breath, is putting the interest of the nation and other Americans ahead of your own. That used to be a virtue. That used to be a significant virtue. Where did we lose that? Think about that. I mean, come on. Randy, it is about living sometimes. Look, at my age, I'm worried about the time they're taking away from me, and I'm pissed. So I can appreciate an 80-year-old would really be upset about it. I don't know. Jen 125. Frederick Douglass. I cannot recommend his biography strongly enough. Look up a book called Douglass. So you get a full screen of that. If you want to bone up on your history and understand why we're in some of the situations we're in here in terms of the racial tensions in the world,
What am I looking at?
it's just called Douglass with 2 S's. Please read that biography. I really feel I just feel we should be, if you're, no, that's his autobiography. Shoot. Just look up Douglass, just that, and see if it comes out. You may have to go to Amazon to do it. Go to Amazon, do that. And I was saying, I think we have an obligation to read that book. Or read one of his, read his autobiography, read whatever you want, but you've got to see what this guy went through and what he was able to do with his life. There it is, that one. That should be a full screen. Frederick Douglass was a slave and was terrorized by his owners, so-called, and was able to get away. But for the grace of God, and was able to get educated as well. There it is. Do you see it there? That is it on Amazon. I recommend it.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes, I recommend you all read this. And one of the interesting things I learned through reading the biography is how popular he was in Europe, something I didn't know. He was doing a lot of speaking in the UK and was always very welcomed over there, even when he was not doing so great here. And he remained optimistic about this country. And you will start to, hopefully, if you read this book, start to see things through his perspective, which I think would help everybody. It's free on Audible? Really, Dave? That seems crazy.
Prolapse.
People want a dose of Dr. Drew face mask.
Okay. So either dose of Dr. We're thinking dose of Dr. Drew, or Ask Dr. Drew, or Dr. Drew After Dark, or hashtag You Live.
Or what about all of them?
I don't know.
Yeah, Douglas's wife, she was, of course, an influence on his life, on his success, because she tolerated a lot. But I can't say, he had two other women in his life that were also big influences. So you have to read about that and decide for yourself. Ask Dr. Drew, they're saying they like that also. Hashtag You Live, they like. It's you know.
I know, there's so many.
You can get all books free from the library app in your state or city. Jennifer, nice. I like that advice. Very good. Some of us like having the books kind of thing, but you're right. The library app in your city or state will let you read for free. Jason, I'm not sure we're going to get Adam Carolla isms on a. No. The Acorn, it is not like Roots at all. At all. It's a telling story. It's an intellectual story in a way that will lead you through the horrors of Reconstruction in the South and the incredible struggles that Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant had trying to control the Democrats in the South, who put down a reign of terror on African Americans in the South for really 100 years, but especially those first 20 years, 15 years after the Civil War. It was just ridiculous. I didn't see the New York Times article about Airborne. I recommend none of you subscribe to the New York Times. I'm done with them. They are my favorite paper. I love them, and they have disgusted me with what they've done to themselves. So I don't know what to make of anything that's published in the New York Times anymore. I'm sorry. I've got to check.
You don't think we could do atomisms?
Well, what do you think? Susan? You could. I mean, they belong to him, not us. Who knows what he'll... Okay.
Man of passion mask.
Just passionate, just say on there.
Picture of Drew's face.
The Economist is awesome, Stephen. I think The Economist and the BBC and The Economist is about all you can rely on these days. And everything else you read, you've got to go, huh? You have to start going, what am I missing? What are they not telling me? What kind of language are they using to stir me? Monica Ricci is going to give you some Patreon ideas. She's just emailed you.
Okay.
Thank you, Monica.
Caleb is trying right now.
He's sort of working on it.
He doesn't work weekends.
So what did you read in the New York Times about Airborne? We know it's Airborne. We know that's the primary means. I showed you 50 milligrams of elemental zinc. I showed you the video of the 6-foot, reach of the droplets that carry the virus and how it's kept right on your face if you wear a proper mask. And of course, airborne is easier to catch, right? Like measles, the measles virus can stay around for 2 hours after somebody walks through there with measles. All right. I think that is about it, Susan. I've got a call in 45 minutes, so. Yes. All right. Thank you guys for coming by today. We appreciate it. It's funny. I miss this interaction when we don't do it. So it's becoming kind of a weird, interesting habit. I hope it serves a function for you guys. My buddy that mentioned something about David Allen Greer here did not explain to me what the problem is. And if somebody can figure that out, I'd be happy to know. And if there's something that we can do to try to heal that, whatever that problem is, I'd be happy to do it. Anything else, Susan, you're seeing? If you want, that's, ultimately that's up to him. Explain how my wife can get bioidenticals. I would urge you, what was the doctor?
Depends on where you are.
Depends on where you are, that's true.
Dr.
Donovitz. Look up Dr. Donovitz. That's who you
Gary
can.
Donovitz.
Gary Donovitz, that's right.
Here, let me put him on here.
And we'll put it up and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Ask him where he's from.
Where are you from?
Everybody who listen wants to. Okay, so his company.
Aaron, what are you going to catch me up on, buddy? You can do it right now. I'm looking.
Okay, here it is. He's got a. Okay, so this is in Texas, but they have. Let me see. Internet. So this is the.
They want you to say goodbye before you leave, so don't.
Okay, so this is drdonovitz.com. It's called Biotay. That's the company that he has, and you can find him at donovitz.com. And I think they have
Spell it.
services. DONOVITZ.com, and he has an 817-467-7474 number. Take a picture of this, and they have clinics all over the place. I mean, if you're in Pasadena, I have a really great doctor, but you can, they have a patient portal, and they will help you find the treatments, because they distribute their hormones all over the country. I do believe.
All right. Somebody asked, what's the best treatment for atrial fib? Let me see your name.
Tell them we sent you.
I can't see the name. I think it's Bruce. Atrial fibrillation is, an irregular, uncontrolled rhythm in one of the two chambers that sit on top of the heart. It's very, very common. It's also associated with valvular heart disease, intrinsic muscle disease of various types, but it's mostly an electrical system disorder. Treatments there's lots of them. It's important if you're in chronic atrial fibrillation, even in relatively recurrent atrial fibrillation, that you be on a blood thinner if there's not excesses of risk factor for that. But the blood thinners now are really excellent. And in terms of controlling the atrial fib, the ultimate treatment is ablation, where they go in there and they map out exactly where it's coming from and ablate that. And I'm a big fan of ablation if you can get it done. Though sometimes it doesn't work, in which case you have to stay on beta blockers and other antiarrhythmics that sort of prevent the atrial fib from running out of control. So, Tom Cigar says his wife is on bioidenticals, and he's very happy with that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's why he's called Tom Cigar.
You're so happy with yourself. Catherine, I don't know what you're talking about there, about the Hippocratic Oath. Please tell me. And I will be happy to respond to whatever it is you seem to be criticizing, which I don't quite understand. Any new therapies for permanent nerve damage from Bell's palsy? Not that I'm aware of. There may be some people doing some sort of nerve, sort of restructuring, but I'm not aware of anything really good for that. The main thing,
Bell's palsy.
Yeah, the main thing is to get on steroid and an antiviral as soon as the thing breaks out.
Yeah.
Catherine Hancock's, tell me what you're talking about. I'll happily address it. Dag is mad at Adam for not being upset about Trump, and I'm guilty by association. Yes, Patrick, I think that's true. But that's not fair, to be fair. I would, and I know he and Adam appear to be now irreconcilable, but I do believe I could find a common ground, just saying. So Catherine, you're not going to answer me, huh? So, okay. And somebody said, will we get a vaccine? My wife keeps asking. Yes, we will get a vaccine. There's like 6 of them being developed, and one will be the best. I'm going to bet on the Moderna vaccine, the RNA vaccine. I would like to get into the human studies as quickly as I possibly can. I would happily be one of the human subjects because the science on that looks amazing.
Okay, you said you were going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I just had a couple of other little comments here I wanted to address before I did go.
I'm hungry.
Okay, so we got to go. Susan is hungry. That means we have to go.
And I don't want the waves to get too high. I want to go sit outside and enjoy the day.
That is a good, yes. Exothorn. Normally I do wear headphones when we're in this sort of traveling mode. It's when I don't. But you're right. I should put headphones into this so I can tell when I'm properly distanced from the mic.
I couldn't get it to work.
All right, so it didn't work.
It's not working right. The fact that I got the mic to work at all is a miracle.
I've been asking everybody, Ashley, how to get into the trials, and no one has given me a straight answer yet. And so if you figure out how to do it, let me know. When can we stop living in fear? Chris, I would suggest you start now, not living in fear. Not now, unless you're really at risk factor, really at risk for this thing.
We have a lot of people here today.
If you're really at risk, I mean, then you should have a healthy fear. But the rest of us should. There are so many things out there for us, and this one, we want to do everything we can to prevent the transmission. And by the way, when we are transmitting, it's going through us to other people typically as well. So that's the main reason we want to be sure not to transmit it, because it's a vector. It's an arrow that cuts through. Okay, we got to go. Susan's very hungry, and that means we have to wrap up now. So, are you in the picture?
Somebody said I was beautiful, though. Thank you.
Well, she is. That's because that is true.
Keep going.
Okay. Oh, there's more good. You're pretty good. Keep going. Keep schmoozing her. We'll stay on the thread then, if that's the case. I didn't know she was prone to that kind of flattery, but now I know.
I am hungry though.
All right.
It's almost 5 o'clock, and we've only had breakfast today.
I know. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I answered all the questions. Okay. How long until the vaccine? 2021. That's my bet. 2021. Long-term damage, taking Xanax every day. Let's deal with that. That's too big a thing for right now because we got to go. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for being here.